to show you how the Chinese work. They came by and they took 45 Americans and 5 British. And they operated on us and they put a gland of an animal in our chest. I was the first one. And we said, why are you doing this? I mean, we were all young and dumb. We were frontline infantry soldiers. We were some guys that lied about their age, 17, 18, 19 years old, maybe 20. Anybody that was in their late 20s or 30s was an old man to us. Anyway, they said, you're going to get the strength and virility of the animal. We knew better than that. What were you going to get? You were going to get a horrendous infection because they'd put a piece of a foreign animal in you. What's your body going to do? It's going to reject that. And you're going to have a horrendous infection, and they wouldn't give you any medicine for it. Anyway, I was laying on the operating table, and it wasn't a doctor who was doing the operation. It was a Chinese political commissar. And he looked at me, and he said, he knew who I was because I used to argue politics with him. And he said, you are an American soldier. I said, yes, I am, and I'm damn proud of it, too. Took care of that conversation. So anyway, they operated on everybody, and we're sitting around feeling sorry for ourselves. But GIs are ingenious. They really, really are. And I've seen it many, many times. And we knew we were going to get this infection. Somebody came up with a brilliant idea because it was right here. We could get at it. And they said, don't let the incision heal over. Squeeze it out. Took us 3 days to squeeze this lump of whatever it was out. The third day we're getting this green, slimy pus out. But we got it out. You know what the Chinese said? Look, the medicine's working. Nobody died. One time we had a train ride, and all the rail lines in Korea were built by the Japanese, and it was quite an engineering feat because they had, I don't know how many railroad tunnels going through the mountains. But what the Chinese would do with those trains, they would only run them at night. And before dawn, they'd move them into a tunnel to hide. So they moved the train, and you've probably seen pictures of the Jews going to concentration camps in World War II, and how they were packed in those railroad cars. Same thing. And so we were locked in these cars, and they left the train engine running, coal burning. Do you know what you get from the coal? Methane gas. Methane gas is poisonous. So we're in there crying and hacking and shaking this thing, and finally, and of course all the Chinese soldiers weren't there, they were out in the air. We finally broke the lock and stumbled out, and I can remember we're stumbling down the rocks where they'd blasted out this tunnel, and we got to the entrance. And there was a Chinese guard there, and he said, you can't come out. Meanwhile, the train engine's still running. You can't come out. And if you come out, I'll shoot you. And we were trying to make up our mind what to do. We're coughing, hacking, and the people behind us were pushing. They were desperate. And there was a Turkish soldier, and he elbowed his way up to the front, and he looked at that Chinese soldier, and this guy's got his rifle and bayonet, and he's, if you come out, I'll shoot you. He walked right out, pushing that Chinese guard. The Chinese guard probably came to the conclusion he had 5 rounds in his rifle. He was all by himself. And if he shot and killed somebody, the rest of the prisoners would probably kill him. So he was very wise to go back. And the rest of the guys poured out of that tunnel, coughing and hacking. But see, the Chinese wouldn't have cared if we'd stayed in there and died like dogs either. But one day, one of those planes in a dogfight got shot down. And he was far enough away we couldn't see the markings. And we said, well, if you're American, you might have had steak and eggs this morning. You'd be lucky if you have rice tonight. And pilot bailed out. So a couple hours later, we were right on the main supply route. And here comes the pilot carrying his parachute. Chinese pilot. Because the American pilot, first thing you do is get rid of the parachute. That's trouble. And we couldn't get out on this road. They had guards, on the road. But we were lined up on both sides of the road. And here comes this Chinese pilot. And we were telling him, now, bear in mind, he's probably pretty shook up anyway. He almost got killed, right? And he was coming to the regimental headquarters in charge of our PW camp because they had trucks to take him back to his airfield. And we were lined up on both sides of this road. And we were talking to him in English, Chinese, Japanese, and Korean. And in Chinese, we were telling him, Migwa Fiji Buhao, Chinese planes are bad, no good. Migwa Fiji's American planes are good, next time they'll kill you. If looks could kill, we'd all been dead. He was walking right down the middle of that road looking straight ahead. I thought that was the funniest thing. But anyway, at that time, I was in my 3rd company because when I got out of the hospital, they put 2 of us in 2 company. Now, these guys had started out the year before with 850 men. A year later, they could account for 150. How do you like that for a death rate?